Howdy Howlers, it's Sako Toomey, also known as Cass Voight. I write horror and I'm a witch and I'm a graphic designer, and sometimes I combine those three things. Today is a special day. I am a book tour stop for the lovely Nicole Ford Thomas.
Hi, hello.
Who has an upcoming release. Oh, it's like, hey, you're on Twitch. You want to know your dashboard from here? Yeah, well. So, would you like to give a little introduction as to who you are?
Sure. I am Nicole Ford Thomas. Ford is my middle name, for anyone who was wondering. It's not a hyphenation of my last name. And I'm an author who writes stuff and then lets people read things sometimes. And I put stuff on the internet. Oh, see, it sounded so much better in my head before I actually had to have it come out my mouth. I'm Nicole. Hello.
All right. Hi, Tony Real.
Hi, Tony Real.
Yeah. Where are my questions? I have a few questions that I would love to ask you.
Okay.
We're gonna start like this is a job interview. If you could tell your younger writer self anything, what would it be?
I think it would be to just keep going. Like, you're going to make it. You're going to do it. Everyone's going to tell you you can't and you shouldn't, but you are stubborn and obnoxious and you're going to do it. And then you get to stuff it in the faces of all the people who said you couldn't do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's the important part, is the stuffing in the face.
The stuffing in the face.
Yeah. Like, haha, take that, you.
I think that's pretty good advice to any aspiring writer, really, is
keep going.
Just keep going.
It gets tough, but you can't quit.
You can't quit. How did publishing your first book change your process of writing?
Well, so part of the situation that's going to make that a complicated answer is that I wrote my first book, Ghost Stories for the Brokenhearted. It's a series of short stories, and I wrote that after I wrote this book that's about to be published.
Oh.
I started off with having Spellbound was supposed to be one full novel length. And I realized as I was putting together everything for Ghost Stories that I don't like writing novels. I just don't have that longevity. It's not my style.
Uh-huh.
So when I got really stuck in writing Spellbound, I realized that the answer was right in front of me. I just needed to be true to what I already like to do. And I took what was supposed to be the novel and I broke it up into 4 books. So now I have 4 novellas that I am publishing out. But it kind of happened in reverse, that the first book that I wrote and published gave me the breakthrough on the first novel that I was writing, and then published second. Does that make sense?
It makes perfect sense.
Okay,
like
good.
I already had some stuff like in progress, and then I finally was like, I'm tired of sitting on this. I'm finishing it. Yeah, by God.
Yep, that's it.
So I totally get it. What was the best money you've ever spent as a writer?
Canva. Hands down, Canva. I love Canva. I play with it just to occupy myself sometimes, just to make things. So buying a 1-year subscription to Canva was definitely the breakthrough for me, because I can make my own covers and things like that. And yeah, I mean, I could pay people to make them. They probably do a lot better, but it works twofold for me, because then I get that extra creative outlet that allows my brain to take a break from writing and do something else creative.
Mm-hmm.
But all the way around, I guess it's just because it's a toy to play with. But on the flip side, the worst, I don't know if you're going to ask me that. I have to say, honestly, I have found no use whatsoever for Scrivener.
Oh,
And
wow.
I think I might be like on my own in left field with that. I still write everything in Word, but I'm also extremely organized. So I've got like files and folders here and all these different things. But there were so many bells and whistles with Scrivener that I just got overwhelmed and then couldn't focus because I was like pinning stuff to pin boards. And
I watched a quickie tutorial on how to utilize Scrivener, and then I used a nano project to basically break it in and give it a try, and decided, no, this is great. So I could keep all of my notes like right in one file, which has its benefits and also its drawbacks, right? So
yeah, I think I'm just kind of old school in that regard. I have to do everything like that by hand because if I don't write it out by hand, it doesn't actually come out of my brain.
So like I'm handwriting my story Bible.
Yeah.
And for similar reasons.
Yeah. Like right now, the second book in the series, I have it here, all the printed things, but my outline and my outline is all handwritten.
Mm-hmm.
My like cheat sheet and then my calendar pages so I can keep track of time. All of it has to be handwritten. Otherwise, like I still get overwhelmed. So if I don't like physically get it out of my brain via my hand, I can't focus.
Oh.
So yeah, I mean, yeah, I guess it's just a matter of I recognize that Scrivener helps a lot of people. Mm-hmm. And I'm glad then that there's that program that helps people because we need more books. I mean, we could have every single person on earth could write a book and I would still say we need more books. But if it's helping people, if it's a tool that's helping people, I am all for it. I'm just one of the weirdos who has to do it old school because I'm old.
Mm-hmm. You're vintage. You're classic.
Antique. There we go.
Not antique. No, we're not that far. All right. What is the most difficult part of your writing process?
Drafting.
Like that zero draft?
Yeah, like to start off to get the ideas out, because sometimes you know what? I'm totally already going to change my answer. That is definitely not my answer because there's something that is more difficult, and that is being interrupted, having interruptions, having to just get like in the flow as you're drafting and then have somebody be like, hey, where's the whatchamajig? And even if you're like, it's over there, and then you turn around and go right back to it, you've lost the flow. It's gone. The
flow.
Yeah. So interruptions are what make this drafting so hard for me because I'm trying to like stay in the story and get the story out. But then if like, you know, the dog throws a ball at me or something and wants my attention, I have to like work to get back into the world. So distractions.
Ginny actually has a question for you. How did you come up with the idea for this book? This for Spellbound?
Well, the town of Boston Falls is modeled after Boston Falls is the city, the little town where the entire book takes place. And it is modeled after one of my favorite places locally called Peninsula. Peninsula, way back in the day, used to be called Boston. So I was like, Boston Falls, we can work with this. In a cemetery called Cedar Grove in Peninsula, there is what people have colloquially called the witch's grave. And I think historically what it actually is a leftover monument from them building the railroad. And we're along the Erie Canal. So we had lots and lots of locks and ships come through and stuff like that on, the canal. I think that what it was a leftover from those days. And it just happens to be sitting in the cemetery. But it's like an obelisk that has like this piece of rebar sticking out of the top of it.
Oh.
And because it's got that rebar sticking out of it, it's constantly being struck by lightning, even if there are like taller trees around it. So carved into this obelisk is the name McGovern, McGovnRN. Like, yeah. So that's how, people's imaginations ran away with them, and they called it the witch's grave. They say there's a witch buried underneath of that headstone, and that they have, the dog is barking, sorry. They have the lightning and the things. Yeah. See what I mean about distractions? I get it. And then something happens. I'm gone. Which is headstone. So that headstone was a huge inspiration for me. I wanted to tell the story of the headstone. Who would be the witch that was buried underneath of it, even though there's nobody buried underneath of it. And that started that line of thinking. I knew where I wanted to be. But then the rest of the story came around with me wanting to write the kind of books I would have wanted to read when I was 16 or whatever. And what would have been great would have been books on witchcraft that weren't Silver Ravenwolf, but allowing more play in that regard. I don't know if that makes any sense.
It certainly does.
Yeah, but like fiction where the witches aren't the bad guys. And this was like pre Harry Potter and things like that I would have wanted those kind of books. So as I was just thinking and fleshing this out, it made me think of that. And one of the things that I hate about YA books are the love triangles.
Oh. So
when I was telling people about writing this book, I was like, but I promise there won't be any love triangles. And they're like, oh, thank you. Oh my God, no love triangles. I'm like, yeah, we're not going to have Team Edward, Team Jacob on this one. It's not gonna happen.
No.
So I wanted that to not have the love triangle, but then I wanted there to be an LGBTQ plus element to it. So there's that in there. There are witches and zombies, ghosts. So it kind of has like lots of stuff, but hopefully it's all tied in so that it makes sense that there's so much going on. But everything just kind of came from that headstone and then branching out with everything past that.
I see. I just did this thing. I swear I did. I just did this thing.
It's just me. While she's doing that, I see What Now in the chat. And I just wanted to say that What Now, I love your voice so much. I could listen to you read the dictionary. I'm just saying. Okay.
Hey, Sean. How's it go?
That was
it. We are honored that you are here. I was going to show off your thing. And then I couldn't command W to this window for some reason. Which of the characters do you relate to most and why?
Of all of the characters that I think that are not representative of me, because I don't write myself in the books. It's funny because she's in a coma sleep spell for the entirety of the book, but it would be the main character's mom, because she's the one who has got the witchcraft know-how, and she's kind of taken away from the group of teenagers that are trying to save the day, so that she can't be used as a resource. So I relate to what we see of her in flashbacks because I have teenagers and I've been through teenager type dilemmas and struggles. I know how difficult it can be dealing with their emotions that seem to make no sense. That like, why are you angry all of a sudden? Why are you yelling? It's cereal. You don't have to yell about cereal. And so I understand that. and then trying to help people the best that you can. So definitely, her name is Shannon. Shannon Archer is definitely probably the one I relate to the most, and she sleeps through the whole thing, so that helps me relate.
Yeah. So you mentioned that you were splitting this up into 4 novellas.
Yeah.
Are you willing to maybe give us a tiny bit of what we can expect?
Throughout all 4 of them, or in the next one?
Maybe in just the next one.
Just... Okay. Each of the books has a subplot, an underlying thing where each character of the 4 has a moment of coming into their own. So this first book is the character Gretchen, who is the fire witch. She's coming into her own, and she is the one who goes from, being shy. She's the only one of the group that starts off having powers, and she's had them since she was a kid because she had to. That's all included in there. But her journey is not a matter of getting to master her powers. She already has that. Her journey is dealing with the fact that she's always been told she was horrible and she's been traumatized and things. So the first book is Gretchen's journey to really become adept and allow herself to be herself. The second book is another one of the witches. Her name is Bryony. It is her journey to allowing herself to come out from underneath of her parents' religious thumb, and to get over being the mean girl at school and to start being honest with the group about things. So those are the 2 journeys that happen in those 2 books. And then, of course, the third book would be their air witch, Jordan. And the 4th is Davies, the main character. She's going through she's the last to have her challenge, to have her growth.
Gotcha. How would you describe your book's ideal reader?
It's got to be somebody who doesn't mind reading young adult books that aren't exactly young adult style. I mean, you are reading everything from the point of view of a 16-year-old, and the 4 main characters are all 16 years old. However, they don't have the kind of language that you would expect out of an actual YA book, and the situations they're in are not exactly YA situations, but it's nothing that I don't believe your average 16-year-old is already saying or would be going through in the same situation. So it's realistic. It's just not, stereotypical, I guess, of the genre. So anyone who likes witchcraft, who likes YA books, and is okay with things being a little unorthodox compared to what's traditional in storytelling.
Four elements, 4 gospels. Is there some greater significance to building a quartet, or is it just how the chips fell?
It's funny that you asked that, because there's a point where their ghost guide is quoted as saying, okay, there are 4 of you. And they're like, why 4? And they're like, well, because there's always 4. It's just 4. It's just, that's the number.
You are not getting to the secrets of the 4.
But it is for the 4 elements, and for the which, of course, there are a lot of people who say there are 5 elements, that spirit's the 5th element. Mm-hmm. That's not really included in this specifically. It's more like the 4 corners, the 4
cardinal directions, etc.
Yeah. Yep, exactly. So that's it. It's also not going to be completely 100% accurate as far as craft goes.
Well, of course, yeah,
it's got to shift a little bit to be able to tell the story and make it interesting. But yeah, so it's just they needed to have the 4 powers to be the 4 representations of the guardians.
Gotcha. How long did it take you to write Spellbound?
2 years. And that's with a lot of breaks in between of me going, I don't know what to do with this, so I'm going to just set it aside. When I finally said, oh, I'm going to break it up and it's going to be good, I had it taken care of in 3 months. Because it was already written, but it was just a matter of saying, I've just got to do the edits and get the things polished and ready to go. 3 months past that point.
Wow.
Yeah.
I hope that my schedule works so well.
Me too, because I have right now scheduled out for book 2 to come out in March. And I'm like, ooh, that's breakneck speed there.
Yeah.
That you picked.
This is right on the tail of the first book.
Yeah, so you might have noticed every 2 weeks I disappear into like a cubby hole. It's because I'm editing or drafting or doing something. Once I get that taken care of, I'm like, freedom. It's the sunlight. Oh my goodness, people. But for 2 weeks, I am just laser focused.
Yeah, I know the feels. Especially when it comes to any design work that I got to do, like formatting the book or coming up with the cover or whatever. Like I just then 2 weeks later I'm coming out, I'm like, oh, the lights are so shiny. Yeah.
Like, movement. What is this movement you speak of?
Yeah,
it's
I look forward to your input on this. Ho, 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 ho.
They're being silly.
Yes, they are. How do you plan to celebrate when this book launches?
On December 5th, I'm going to have a launch party on my channel.
Oh, yeah. Can I come?
Yay! Yeah, absolutely. Of course. It's not a party without Sako.
Yay!
And then maybe if we're lucky, Devin will show up and it'll really, really be a party.
Yeah.
All right. Past that, probably a really big nap. But again, it's not, everything's so overlapping that even once it releases, there's not a break. I get to jump right back into editing the second book. And then
you at least
you're
at least taking like the week of the launch off, as it were, right? Like,
no. Unfortunately, no. I will be editing alongside doing all of the push for the book coming out. Everything's because that's the first 2 weeks of the month is what I work on, and then I have the rest of the month on my own. And that's what I have to do to stay on schedule for this ridiculous schedule that I've given myself. Because even at that, if the second book comes out March 1st, the third book comes out 3 months later.
Right.
So I'm like, I am insane. This was not smart. I will have a total of 5 books coming out in 1 year.
Whoa.
Yeah.
If you don't burn yourself out first. Holy cannoli.
Once they're all done, I will definitely be taking a bit of a break. But not too big of a break because I'm already having like all the other ideas coming in.
Oh,
like sure. I wrote that story that I told you about, the one with the in the market where the vampires drink moonshine. The hillbillies come in and sell moonshine to vampires.
Right.
It's a silly story, but
super fun.
Yeah, so I mean, I'm excited to put together that collection of short stories and put that out too. But yeah.
Boots and cats and boots and cats and boots and cats and boots and cats.
Well, let me just say, I'm an old lady, so at some point I'm going to be like, you don't have to go home, but you can't stay here. And shut it down at like 9. You're going to be chasing people out with the broom. No, it won't really be like that. Nice thing about books is somebody's always putting something out. And there's always somebody to go party with. You just jump from stream to stream.
So we whacked through a lot of these questions, but I have one last question for you.
Let's do it.
What books helped you the most when you were writing this book? Were you reading while you were writing, or like?
Because that I had such a large gap in time from when I started to like actually having it in somebody's hands. The books that I read that had an influence on it would really be Stephen King's On Writing. Always, I think that everybody has something about that, but like that book is really important to me. But during the really tough times too, a book that helped me out a lot was Elizabeth Gilbert's Big Magic. I loved that book because it's the one that basically gave me permission. Who cares if it sucks? And like I kept thinking, well, I've got to put like a moral in here and do those things. And in Big Magic, Liz Gilbert talks about like, don't put that kind of pressure on your story to have like a moral. You're not trying to teach people stuff. Just tell the story. The rest of it will come in. Like it'll appear, you'll see it, but just don't force that. And that helped out a lot because I didn't have like morals and that kind of thing until later in the draft. And I realized that's the part where like I'm telling Gretchen's story as I'm doing this. And then I'm like, Liz was right. Liz knew what she was talking about. So Big Magic. It's a great book and it's a quick read. Cool. But yeah.
Did you arrive at a point, and if so, where was it, when the characters started talking by themselves and you were just transcribing their actions?
Absolutely. But I wasn't transcribing their actions at first. At that point, it was pretty much like, hey, you writer lady, put down the pen. You're telling our story wrong and we're not talking to you till you fix it. So that was a tough one when they stopped talking to me. But otherwise, yeah, when it comes to, I'm sorry, I just read what I didn't have like
morals. Yep.
I didn't have like morals. Yeah, like morals. Yeah, but I've already forgotten what the question was. Flow, that was it. Once I get out of that flow and they stop talking, I can't, like, it takes me forever to get back in it. But once I'm in it, then yeah, I'm just writing down what they're saying and I'm like chuckling, like, oh, you're so funny, and keep going. It's not me. I don't have that kind of sense of humor.
Yeah. I have to admit, the character that is the MC of my anchor series, mm-hmm. He's probably branched over into Tulpa land. Get that on a t-shirt, $1 million right there. I don't have like morals. Yep.
Okay.
Well, thank you so much for coming on my channel. And
thank you, Sako, for having me.
I would like actually to show off your book, and in the description below, there are 2 links. One link is to her book, which I will put in the chat. Put it in the chat. Put it in the chat. Boop. And then, yep, there we go. And then I have so many tabs open, you don't even know. Then you can contact her and figure out what her discography is like and all of those things. Discography. Bibliography.
I knew what you meant. I was like, oh no, I gotta make CDs. Okay, got it.
Gotta make cities.
Sako, one thing I do want to point out, unfortunately, the way the KDP works, I cannot have a pre-order for soft covers, but on December 1st, you will be able to buy the soft cover. If somebody would prefer to have the soft cover as opposed to the ebook, but you just can't see that option. So I have to like tell people like that option will be there. You just can't see it right now.
Hi, Natalie.
It's Natalie.
What have you learned between writing ghost stories for the brokenhearted and Spellbound?
Well, because I wrote them backwards, I published them the opposite of how I wrote them. I've learned a lot about how self-publishing works and that it's not as intimidating as I thought it was in the beginning. But it is so much more work than your average person would think. Your average writer, I guess. Self-publishing is like having a second full-time job. First full-time job is writing. And then if you have like an actual full-time job, then just pretend like you don't need to sleep because you won't get to. It's challenging. So I learned basically the ropes of how all that goes, and I'm glad for it because it's good information to have.
Indeed. It is good information to have. And I think we all go through it at some juncture. At least as Yes, 3 cheers for the non-linear writing. Cue the song and dance music.
See, now we're having a party here too.
All right. Thank you again for joining me, and I strongly look forward to your book releasing. I will be hopefully getting it on December 1st. I hope. And we will catch you guys on the flip side.
Bye, everybody.